Hey everyone, it's JC. We are back with part 2 of our series on eating our feelings. I hope you watched part 1. This one will lead from that, and I'll link that below. I have never spent so much time studying for a video. I can't even tell you. My brain almost hurts. I almost had to step away from it for a bit. But it's been so good. You guys, I had a light bulb moment. I did not see it coming. Maybe when I tell you, you'll be like, oh yeah, duh. But it was huge for me. Let's dive in. I'll probably use my notes more than I usually do, but when it comes to our anger, we talked in the last one, in part 1, about how a lot of us eat our feelings. We suppress our anger. We push it way down because a lot of times we believe that's what a good Christian does, or just because we're scared of it or whatever reason. We talked about that. Suppress. So let's just talk about actual experience of anger in this video. Here's what I want. Here's my light bulb moment. Let's just do it right from the start. I was floored the whole day after this came from the Lord. Think for a minute. I mean, if you've been on my channel, you know we talk a lot about food and binge eating and addiction and all of that. Think about one of your binge eating moments where maybe you've been trying really hard to be like, no, control, don't binge. And then all of a sudden, for some odd reason, something hits and suddenly you're in the kitchen, and before you're even aware of it, half a box of cookies is in your mouth, or a whole candy bar is gone, and you're like, wait, I wasn't gonna do that. It's that crazy, like, try to control it, and then we lose it and we binge, right? And we're not wanting to do that, but then we do, and we're like, what happened? Now think about this. Think about the experience of anger, and we're going to talk about what that means. But don't we sometimes, like, with the expression of anger, with yelling or losing it or getting mad or whatever, don't we do the same thing? It's the exact same pattern. Think about this. Push it down, like, no, don't get mad. We're trying to control it, and we're trying to keep our cool and not lose it. And then, just like with the binging, some odd moment, something will just, like, hit us, and boom, all of a sudden we're losing it, we're yelling, or we're, whatever, going off on somebody, or raging, and then suddenly we're, wait, I wasn't gonna do that. Why did I do that? We don't even know what triggered it. Can you see the complete parallel in both experiences? Both are something we're trying to control. It's like in the food space, it's like dieting, trying to count calories, trying to keep it in control, not let ourselves lose it and binge. In the anger space, it's the same thing. It's self-talk. Like, okay, that kid is doing it again. Don't lose it with him. Don't lose it in the traffic. Like, it's like dieting. You're trying to hold yourself back. And then both things seem to have a trigger that just comes out of nowhere sometimes. I mean, sometimes you know exactly what the trigger is. With food, it's stress, or it's, whatever, your boss, or it's something that always gets you, and you may know very well. Anger may be the same way, or you know what your triggers are in PMSing, right? Whatever. But both are kind of this explosion. It's this try to suppress, try to control and be good girl. And in both areas, we just lose it, have our binge or have our anger rage. And then it's this guilt and shame. And, oh, okay, how am I going to keep myself from doing that next time because I don't like it? Isn't that crazy? It's exact same experience. I was like, wait, it's exactly the same. So it's going to give us some insight as we look into why we eat our feelings. They're so connected. And so it's almost like we're using the food experience to keep the rage experience in control, but then really the food has its own issues. Let's talk about this for a minute. Okay, so before I get off, I got to check them this time. What my goal is, I talk in a lot of videos about metanoeo. The word for repentance in the Greek is metanoeo in the New Testament. And all it means is a change of mind. And that's what I want in this video, is for us to begin to have metanoeo when it comes to anger and our anger experience. We're going to use that parallel, keep going back and forth to help us understand this a little bit better. Now, before I go any farther, and I will have books and links below in the description box, I have to say up front, if you have reactivity problems, like you just feel like you can fly off the handle, like over nothing, go from 0 to 60, where you're just like fine, and then one next minute you're raging, or you can get really, really irritable. And it's not PMS, you're just like, why? What set me off? Why am I so like volatile sometimes? It can be a physical body issue. Blood sugar, when it is out of whack, and I've talked about this in videos, but if you've never heard this from me, I have to say this up front. If your blood sugar is whacked, you will get irritable, you will have mom rage, you will have, or boss rage or whatever, just because your blood sugar is off. So that could be one of the main issues. Before we go into all the other stuff, just know that stabilizing my blood sugar, huge difference in my reactivity, how volatile I was, how I would snap and lose it over little things that later I was like, what? It can be your blood sugar. As your blood sugar's like this, your moods go like that. You're gonna be irritable. So check out the books in the description box below by Kathleen DeMasons. She describes it really, really, really well and taught me how to stabilize that. And that controlled a great deal of my anger. Okay, so the second part of this video is just gonna be more about those of us setting that aside. If we were kind of dealing with our blood sugar, getting it more stable, seeing that calm down, I still had the problem of suppressing my anger, of really eating my feelings, pushing it down. I was not comfortable with the experience of anger. I thought it was bad no matter what. I just needed to understand it a little better. So we're gonna, there were a couple of books I used, and I'll just link them all below so I don't have to talk about them again and again, the titles. But the most important thing that helped me begin to have a metanoia, a mind shift when it comes to my anger, so I don't eat it, but that I can express it in a healthy way, was what author Joanne Peterson talked about. We have to separate the actual feeling of anger with the expression of it. Because for so many of us, we grew up with the violent expression of anger, and they're one and the same in our minds. Anger is yelling, and all the terrible things that can go with that, whatever you experienced or however you saw it. That's what anger was to me. She goes, no, separate that. There's an actual feeling, deep down in the root, there's an energy that grows that we're gonna call anger. The expression of it's different. It's like the binging is different from the root cause of what's driving the binging. Let's separate that. The anger expression, that's a choice. We're losing it, we're yelling, whatever. That's a way to express it. But let's talk about just the feeling. For me, that was very helpful to go, wait a second. Listen, let's get my glasses. Listen to these quotes. Anger suffers from bad press because for many of us, it's inextricably tied to violence. The violent expression of anger is often mistakenly regarded as anger itself. And this is huge. Anger expressed without violence can be a useful, positive emotion that promotes health in our bodies, our minds, and our relationships. I would never have defined it that way. To me, anger was bad, but it's because I was tying those two together. She said when it's expressed without the violence, and she calls all manner of expression violence. She just, in her book, explains why she does that. But she said it can promote health. Listen to this by Gabriel Monte. Healthy anger is an empowerment. An empowerment. The experience is one of a surge of power going through the system, along with a mobilization. I knocked my camera. Mobilization to act. It's an empowerment, a surge of energy going through your system to get you to act. I remember the first time I really started to think about that was when I saw the movie Inside Out by Pixar, where Joy, the Joy character, is always trying to push the anger character out of the way. Like, no, we don't want you. We just want to be happy all the time. And God went, that's you, by the way, JC, that's you. Just be happy. Anger, never, no anger. Anger's always bad. Push it away. Because he said, sometimes you're such a bad people pleaser that anger is my way of helping you. And when that energy she was talking about, that energy that rises up in you, to actually voice your opinions when a boundary has been crossed or when something needs to be said. I'm using that anger in you to actually take a stand when you need to. It's not bad. It's actually voicing something that needs, for this people pleaser, that needs to be said and you were too afraid to say it. I'm using your anger as a catalyst to help you do that. And it blew my mind a little bit, like, oh wait, it can be good. But that experience went along with these definitions, that it's an empowerment. It's a surge, rise of passion within us to act. Now, whether we act depends on what's driving the anger. We'll talk about that in a minute. But then both authors talked about how, okay, there's the surge of emotion, and then we have different choices on how we can deal with it. We can try to suppress it, or we can rage and act out and yell, and we can take these two roles, or two different ways of dealing with that surge of passion or that need that's saying this is not right or whatever's coming up. That anger starts here, and then we choose how to deal with it. It made me think of food. How many videos have we talked, if you've been with me for a while, have we talked about getting to here? Don't worry about the act, the binging. We're trying to stop it out here. Getting to here and going, what's driving the binging? What's driving it? Stop looking out here and go, what's the need? What's happening inside you right before you binge that leads you? And anger is the same way, going to the core, going to the root and going, what's coming up in me before I ever act out? The problem is those of us that have been really, really good at suppressing, there's no space between it comes up and I have a reaction. Normally, one author was talking about how the ideal is there should be a space between anger and your decision of how to respond to it. Once we discover the reason underlying our anger, then we have the ability to choose. And see, with both food and with anger, I was in such a tight pattern of response. Binging, I would do this. Like, I would be in the kitchen eating just probably 6 or 8 cookies down me before I'd even have any conscious awareness of why. I wouldn't ask myself why. Something would begin to come up and I just start eating as a coping without even asking myself what was driving the binging. That took so much work. That's why this is a faith-based channel, because he had to teach me to step into that space and go, stop, just a second. Don't reach with a cookie. Let's look at what's driving this instead of just running to my stash, because I was just so afraid of feeling some of those things that I'd just start eating. Anger was the same way for me. I'm so afraid of it. From my childhood, there's a whole story there, and we won't go into that. But I was so afraid of it that the minute that surge, that power, that inner thing started to happen, I suppressed. It terrified me. Or I'd suppress so long, it'd blow up. Because I'm human, and you can only suppress that energy. It stays in the body. It doesn't, just because you push it down doesn't mean it's gone. Can you again see the similarities? I had no space. I would feel the anger, and it was such an intense coping mechanism for me to push it down. I would do it without a conscious thought. And the Lord again is starting to go, wait. Before you suppress it, listen to that energy. What is it telling you? JC, what is it telling you? This is very hard to do, at least for me. Maybe you're really good at feeling this come up and going, let me sit with that for a minute. What am I feeling? Or the urge to binge, hold on, let me sit with that for a minute. Why do I want to binge? Do we do that? I didn't do either one of those things. See, the similarities for me between binging and anger are most of the time I tried to suppress the anger, but I would explode, like binging on my anger. I just never sat in the space to actually look at it. This is the human experience. So here's the thing. If we go into the scriptures, this will give more evidence to the fact that anger is actually not sinful. The anger itself, the root emotion. Let's do this. Where's my anger? You think about how, let's go through a bunch of biblical proof of that. We were created in God's image, and yet we see in scripture all the time that God got angry. He got angry when they made the golden calf. Jesus got angry when they were selling stuff in the temple. He got angry with the Pharisees all the freaking time. You see anger in the Father and the Son. at times. But listen to this from author Gary Chapman, who's the author of the 5 Love Languages. He wrote a book on anger, and it's linked below. It's very good. He says, the scriptures never say God is anger. Anger is not part of the essential nature of God. However, the Bible often indicates that God experiences anger. The word anger is found over 400 times in the Old Testament. 375 of these refer to God's anger. Because God is holy and because God is love, God necessarily experiences anger. When God sees evil, anger is his logical response to injustice and unrighteousness. See, and I just labeled all anger is bad. All anger is bad. And then I had to go, wait a second. Jesus taught me that's not true. Old Testament teaches me that's not true. But again, I was marrying the violence with the feeling of anger. And so, of course, I was like, violence, that's terrible. You can't ever feel angry. And instead of going, wait a second, what if the anger inside of me is like these experiences when an injustice or something not good is happening and it needs to be addressed. And that passion rising in me is saying that to me. This needs to be addressed. There is a boundary that's been crossed. There is something that's been done, especially as a mom. It needs to be addressed. Now, am I supposed to rage and yell and scream about it? That is a different choice that I'm sure God is like, hold on. Let's relearn how to respond to that passion. But understanding that the passion of anger is not a sin was huge for me. It was huge for me. There's even a Greek word, thumos, that's often translated anger in the New Testament. And it can mean spiritedness or passion. I like the one website pointed out, biblically, anger is God-given energy intended to help us solve problems. Have you ever thought of it that way? But before we are, because then you're maybe going, wait a second. Sometimes my anger is not righteous at all. And that was my reaction, was like, okay, hold on. Sometimes it's my pride. Sometimes it's my vanity. I am jealous. I can't control the situation. I want to control it. I'm using my anger to try to control someone. Or you can see how it often, that thing that's coming up could come from a sinful place. It's not that a boundary's been crossed. I'm feeling some sinful driven emotion and anger as a result. And so can you see again, I need God to go, okay, wait, let's look at that. So for me, the best way to define it as I began to study it, you're getting so much from me, aren't you? Anger is a check engine light, a signal to tell us to look under the hood. Yes, it might be a God-sent thing to spark us into action and to be prayerful and let him help us resolve whatever needs to be resolved, that passion is going, no, this is not right. And we need to speak up. But it might also be driven by a sinful impulse. Gary Chapman defined 2 different kinds. He said it can be definitive or distorted. I thought that was a really good way to define it. Was a wrong committed? Do I really need to set something right, or am I reacting from a place of pride, envy, control? Do I have unrealistic expectations? Or I'm reacting with this volatile anger, but it's actually coming from a place where I need to repent and I need to change. It's either definitive, God is saying, yeah, I'm using this, or it's distorted. So yes, anger can right wrongs and reinforce boundaries. The passion, that feeling, can be there for that purpose, or it can reveal areas in us that need repentance. You see the difference between just calling all anger bad? Maybe you never did that. I would love to hear what your experience. I really just know mine. But for me, that made me kind of say, okay, just like with the binging, I've been doing it for years with the binging. I had to step, with the Lord's help, I had to step in that space of feeling the impulse before I acted. There's that space. And my next video in Eating Our Feelings, my next video is going to be all about that space. Because so many times I would steamroll right past the space before I even thought about it. And then I was into the response, whether it was with anger or whether it was with food. I was into the response before I even stopped to check myself and to let the Lord go, hold on, let's look. I was steamrolled right into the response. And so you go, wait, wait, like, how do I stop that steamroller? Because I just do that. And I don't have a conscious thought, and then I'm steamrolling past the space. I'm already gone. I'm already gone. I'm in the kitchen just going, or I'm raging at someone, and I didn't even stop to think about it. So that's what our next video is on that space. But the idea is, author Joanne Peterson says this. She says, let's look at the sequence that characterizes the anger experience. There's a source, there's something. Then there's arousal, the passion begins to come up, and then there's a response. And I would say the same thing about food. There's a source. I'm feeling empty. I'm feeling hurt. I'm in need of comfort. Or, there's always a source. I'm aroused to have that need met, and then my response is to go binge because I think the food will do it. Anger's the same way. There's so many similarities. There's a source that's going to spark something in me and the arousal of some passionate energy about it. And then there's a response. So she says, slowing down the anger sequence from trigger to release gives us the opportunity to disrupt that automatic cycle that often leads to violence or repression. It made me think of how many verses in the scriptures talk about being slow to anger. It didn't say no anger, ever, don't ever feel it ever. The verses talk about God is slow to anger. And now that makes more sense because I'm like, okay, if that's slowing down that process, it doesn't mean I wipe it away. I look at it, I slow it down and I look at it so that I can go, okay, what do I need to do about this? And again, we're going to talk more about that. But other scriptures that I read, I keep using the wrong page. Which page is that? Oh, right. Maybe I'm not supposed to do it. Where is it? Oh, there it is. I told you I have so much. There's a lot of verses on ceasing anger. Cease from your anger. But that just means bring to an end. It doesn't mean don't ever feel it. It means look at it, and then cease. And here's my wonder. You tell me what you think. Cease from your anger, refrain from anger, bridle your anger. I wonder if some of these verses are defining it as the violent part of it, as people like losing it, and they're saying cease from that. Yeah, I can't think of a lot of good times when raging is going to be helpful. But refrain just means to bring something, to keep oneself from doing that. So yeah, maybe the Lord's going to teach me some healthier ways to not have the violent response, or to bridle my anger. It's on that end, he's going to help me learn how to express it in a healthy way without raging or without blowing up or losing it. But if I can't let him into the space before the response, I'll never get his help with the response. So as I learn to cease from anger, refrain from anger, like the scriptures teach, I think the whole key is in learning, and we'll talk about it more because I know this may just feel overwhelming. Like, okay, you just outlined something I have no idea how to do, either with food or with my emotions. And what we'll do in the next video is not just talk about anger, but all emotion, because I do it the same thing with, I suppress automatically with despair or with disappointment or with things I don't want to feel. I again steamroll right past that instead of looking at it, letting the Lord into that space and letting him heal when maybe I don't need to suppress it. Then it can just go. And I've looked at it and dealt with it and go, instead of pushing it down where the energy of that emotion is just going to keep building up until it has to be released. All right. Here's what I would love. That was kind of my take on everything I synthesized from everything I read. I'm going to put some articles and books if you want to dive deeper into this. But again, in a couple weeks, we'll go deeper into, okay, if I want to stop eating my feelings, if I want to stop either repressing my rage or letting it, if I want to look at the gift of the anger, what it's doing, if it's not distorted, if it's not coming from a sinful place, but it's his gift to me to help me solve a problem or fix a wrong, then let me look at it and not be so afraid of it. I think as Christians, because we've married the anger with the violence, then all anger's bad. And this was so revelatory for me to go, wait a second, God got angry about things that needed to be fixed. And absolutely in my little people-pleasing mind, I have missed this. And I think I've missed really important conversations that needed to happen in my fear, because of coping mechanisms that were so deeply in place. I just wouldn't even consider life anywhere else than in that tight box. I was just so afraid of anger that it paralyzed me, and I didn't know how to respond. So again, anger isn't the only one we're going to deal with, but this was a tough one. I would love to hear your experience. If it resonates with this food cycle and anger cycle, and if they feel the same to you once you think about it, I'd love to hear more about that. But that's probably enough for this time. I've been going for a while. Join me in the next session, or the next series, part 3, and we'll keep going with this. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.